So today, as we completed yesterday, unit number 7 and unit number 8. Yesterday we completed unit number 6, Anthropological thought. Today we will be doing unit number 7 and unit number 8 of paper 1. So unit number 7 mainly talks about language studies. We know it talks about language studies. So the quick revision of language studies, the quick revision of linguistic anthropology, the quick revision of the topics which are there in the syllabus I will be discussing now. So in the syllabus we have culture, language and communication, nature of the language, origin of the language, characteristics of the language. 3 topics are there, and verbal and non-verbal communication, social change of language use. But in exam point of view, what is most important? 2 topics are most important, that is biological evolution of language and Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. First I will discuss about Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which is expected question. So Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. What is Sapir-Whorf hypothesis? The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis mainly talks about, the Sapir is Edward Sapir and Whorf is Benjamin Whorf. So this person Sapir-Whorf had explained about language determinism. He gave the concept called as language determinism, and he gave the concept called as language relativism. He gave the concept called as language relativism, and this is called as stronger version. This is called as stronger version, and this is called as weaker version. This is called as weaker version. So there are 2 versions are there. One is called as stronger version, other is called as weaker version, and the stronger version is called as language determinism, and the weaker version is called as language relativism. In this, the stronger version is being advocated by Edward Sapir. He want to tell that in simple language, I will tell you, language will influence the thought process. The language will influence the thought process means our thought will be because of the language. Our thought will be because of the words. Our thought will be because of narratives. Our thought will be because of sentences. So language will be determining the thought. For example, he gave an example called as Ashanti tribal community. In Ashanti tribal community, there is only past tense and present tense. There is no future tense. So whenever they think, their thought process will be limited to past, or their thought process will be limited to present. Why? Because they don't have any future. There is no word. There is no single word also for the tomorrow. So there is no concept of tomorrow. Obviously, there will be no thought process with tomorrow. Whatever the thought process they will be having with respect to today or with respect to yesterday, but not with respect to tomorrow. In this way, Ashanti tribal community is the example which is given by the Edward Sapir, in which there is only language will be determining the thought process. Whereas coming to the language relativism, which is given by Benjamin Whorf, which is called as weaker version, he tells that the thought process will be somewhat influenced by the language. The thought process will be somewhat influenced by the language. For example, he also took the example of, in English, there is white. If I talk about white, there will be cream white, there will be cement white, there will be enable white. So different varieties of whites will be there. So some point of thought will be ignited. If I tell white, then immediately people will tell, sir, white, but which white, sir? There is a cement white is there is deeper white is there is brighter white is there is cream white is there, several varieties of whites are there. So in which white you are talking about? So it influences somewhat, but not particularly. It will influence it some relatively, but not fixedly. That particular concept is given by Benjamin Whorf by the title called as language relativism, which is called as weaker version. So in this way, these both have told that how the language will be influencing the thought process, how the language will be fixedly or conformly will be influencing thought process, and how language will be influencing somewhat with respect to thought process. In this both, the first version is called as stronger version and the second version is called as weaker version. For example, when he goes near a Samoan island, Samoan tribal people, and when he asked about, can you give me coconut? Then they told that there are 9 varieties of coconuts are there. So which coconut you want? For example, if I go to a hotel and if I ask them, give me a dosha. In tiffin center, if I go and if I tell that, can you please order me a dosha? Then immediately will tell that, which dosha? Masala dosha, idli dosa, or onion dosa, or nowadays chocolate dosa is also coming up. Means what? It is not triggering a thought in that person. It is not triggering a thought in that person, it is triggering different versions. So in that version which you want, in that is an example of weaker version. Whereas if I go to as same Ashanti tribal community, there is no thought for tomorrow. If the thought is there, the thought will be limited to today or yesterday. In that way, the two differences were being given by Sapphire and Wolf in this Sapphire-Wolf hypothesis concept. This is about, again I will go back with respect to language studies. So anthropological context, what is language studies means? The first person who discussed about the importance of language is E.B. Taylor in his book called as Primitive Culture. Second person who gave emphasized on language is Franz Boas. Franz Boas is a person who told that there is a need to document, protect, conserve the languages, mainly indigenous languages. So Franz Boas is also a popular personality with respect to protection of languages, mainly indigenous and native. And third person who gave importance to the language is Malinowski. He told that the field works need to be studied in native language and anthropologists should learn the native language. Then only there is a need to understand the culture. Then only we can understand the culture. And coming to the Levi-Strauss, he went deeper and he told that every culture is represented in the form of language. Hence, language is analogous, language is synonymous. Language is synonymous means when the language and culture are structurally same. Language is analogous means when the language and culture is functionally same. In that way, he told that language influences culture and culture influences language. In this way, there are different varieties, different approaches of language and culture. And Henry Sweet is a person who gave a proper definition of language. He told language is the expression of ideas by means of speech sounds combined to form words. Words are combined into sentences. This combination of answering to that of ideas into a thought. This will be triggered in the form of thought. This will be evolved in the form of thought, which was been told by Henry Sweet in the definition of language. So the language definition was been given by Henry Sweet. Then Franz Boas ka kya hai, Levi-Strauss ka kya hai, and there are three different views and three different natures of language. One is called as structural view, other is called as communicative view, other is called as interactional or interpretative view. Structural view, every language will have a structure, like what? Words will be there, meanings will be there, sounds will be there, syntax means grammar will be there. So a structural arrangement of words will be result in the form of language. Communication. Language is a medium of communication. We use language only to express our ideas, to express our thoughts. So language is a medium of communication. Interpersonal relations and interpersonal relations, it's an interactive in nature, it is an interactional in nature. These all things will be happening because of language. So there is structural view, there is communicative view, there is interactional nature. And coming to the origin of language, there are two different understandings of origin of language. One version of origin of language is called as divine creation hypothesis, or the next is called as natural evolution hypothesis. Divine creation hypothesis, according to the biblical story, Adam was the first person who had used or developed the language, or Adam had gave the language to all the human beings on the earth. This is called as divine creation hypothesis. The next is called as natural evolution hypothesis. The evolution of language has been evolved naturally. We are doing quick revision, so fatafat I am telling you, also just recollect it. So in the natural evolution hypothesis, two varieties are there. One variety is called as imitation hypothesis. Another variety is called as necessary hypothesis, which is given by Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky had gave two different origins of languages. One particular origin of language is called as imitation hypothesis. Second variety of language evolution is called as necessary hypothesis. Coming to the imitation hypothesis, he gave ding-ding hypothesis, poo-poo hypothesis, bow-wow hypothesis, tata hypothesis, and Creole hypothesis. Ding-dong hypothesis is mainly because of sound. The ding-dong hypothesis is mainly because of basis of sound. Poo-poo hypothesis is involuntary exclamation which we are doing, from which the words are developed. Bow-wow from animals. Tata hypothesis, the gestures itself are giving some meaning. Creole, for one particular purpose, the words are joined to form the Creole. In this way, this is called as imitation hypothesis, whereas necessary hypothesis was been given by him. One is called as, in necessary hypothesis, or In warning hypothesis and a he ho hypothesis, warning hypothesis, the primitive man, he makes the sound in order to alert the tribal community or his primitive people that a predator is coming or a prey is coming or an enemy tribe is coming. In order to warn them, he used some sound. The sound had evolved into the form of language. That particular hypothesis is called as warning hypothesis. A he ho hypothesis, whereby a collective effort, when they want to move the rocks, when they want to block the cave, they want to have energy. When they want to have energy, it cannot be done by one man. So group of people will come and they will do it. A collective effort is needed. For that collective effort, they make a sound while placing their energy. The sound which has been evolved has been developed in the form of language, which is under the hypothesis called as a he ho hypothesis. Then there are characteristics of language. Language is dynamic, yes. Language is dynamic. However we want, we can change the language. Language is idiolect, individual pronunciation. There will be individual variations will be there. One person will be pronouncing in different way, another person will be pronouncing in different way. There is language is idiolect, language is dialect. The Bhojpuri Hindi will be different from Delhi Hindi. In Delhi Hindi also, North Delhi Hindi will be different and South Delhi different will be there. South Delhis are posh and North Delhis are mass. So there is variation in language also. This is called as dialect, regional variation. Language is dynamic, language is idiolect, language is dialect, language is productive. We can change the language. However we want, we can change the language. Only purpose is whether it is expressive or not. So language is productive, idiolect, socialect also, community. School, people will tell school. So the people who are coming from one particular background or one particular social and economic background, they have their own way of delivering the words. They have their own way of expressing the words. It is called as socialect. So language is dynamic, dialect, socialect, idiolect. Language is symbolic and arbitrary. Language is symbolic and arbitrary. I can use it however I want, I can use it. Some things where I will be expressing, but everyone will be thinking I am expressing, but one person will understand what is the original meaning which I want to deliver. So language will also have some secret things. Everyone will be understanding that the person is delivering some information, but the core of the information will be delivered to one person. Means the language can be used as symbolic way. The language can be used however we want. Language is symbolic and arbitrary. Language is productive. Language is productive. We can use 2-3 languages, we can combine and we can create a pidgin. And if that pidgin become a full-time language, then it is called as pidgin is what? Pidgin is a language by joining 2-3 languages and we create a language. And if that language become a mainstream language, then it is called as Creole. Pidgin is becoming a Creole. So language is productive. For example, karma is a word which is present in Sanskrit. Now the same karma is present in Oxford English Dictionary. Means karma became English word also today. So language is productive. Language is dynamic. Language is idiolect. Language is dialect. Language is socialect. Verbal and non-verbal. So communication. Communication is nothing but expressing an idea. And that idea will be triggering a thought process in another man. So language is nothing but a communicative media. Through communication, I will be expressing my idea, because of which a thought will be ignited in your mind. So expression of idea, and the idea will be triggering the thought. For that way, there are 2 types of communications are there. One particular communication is called as verbal, where I use the words, where I use the sound, where I use the amplitude, where I use the grammar. It is called as verbal communication. Non-verbal communication like body movements, like gestures, like eye-to-eye contact, like distance. These all are part of non-verbal communication. So 2 varieties of communications are there within the expression of a language. One is called as verbal communication, other is called as non-verbal communication, in which we have a structure. The structure of the language. The structure of the language. Language has been evolved into, language means what? Sound, meaningful communication of words, meaningful contribution of words. See, meaningful communication of words means using appropriate words and using appropriate words at appropriate time also. For example, they are having an obituary and you don't know what you have to use, lack of knowledge, for example, and you went and you told happy anniversary. Means how the people will react. It is not only about meaningful communication of words, it is also meaningful contribution of words. And finally, the language should deliver what? Meaning. The language should deliver what? Meaning. Meaning is what? An idea. Meaning is what? One thought process will be triggered. In this way, there is The study of verbal communications helps us to provide and understand the language rules associated with them and the individual variations on one hand. Here comes the importance of non-verbal aspects. Non-verbal communication includes variety of extra linguistic messages conveyed and received by all the sensory apparatus of the body. So non-verbal, what are these non-verbal? Any communication will be complete by verbal and non-verbal. So non-verbal is what? Body movements, body posture, communication through eye contact, communication through distance also. With personal intimate people, how much distance we are. A person seeing from there, he can understand what type of relationship he might be having with the person whom he is talking. That also we can come to a conclusion by the distance we are maintaining. That is also a non-verbal communication. Number one, paralinguistics, by the gestures, kinesics, body movements, proxemics, distance, the famous sign language, association between certain vocal patterns and expressions is called as paralinguistics, like hissing, whistling, I am tired. Paralinguistics. Through the sound, we are delivering an expression. To the sound, we are delivering an idea to you. That is called as paralinguistics. Kinesics. Articulation with the help of body movements. If I ask you a question, if you tell, means it is also a meaning. The meaning through the body movements is called as kinesics. Distance as well as sign language. I think you know this. Deaf people, if they keep their finger here, one meaning will be there. If they keep the fingers here, a meaning will be there. If they keep meaning here a finger, a meaning will be there. That is called as very famous American sign language. And most important, the communication is also being delivered by the eyes. These are non-verbal communication. Coming to the social context of language use, in the social context of language use, we have idiolect or dialect, individual variation, and that individual variation is common among complete region, like Bhojpuri Hindi or Andhra Telugu and Telangana Telugu, that is called as dialect. Social classes, how rich people are speaking, how poor people are speaking, how people from higher community are speaking, how people from lower community are speaking. Age and sex, senior citizens will speak formal language, younger people will speak informal language. Younger people will use more new technological words, whereas senior citizens will use less technological words. Female will use more organized language and formal language, whereas young people or boys will use less formal language. Hence, age and sex, ethnic background. For example, today also the English spoken by black people is called as black English. Ethnic background is there. Urdu people speaking Hindi language will be completely different. Ethnic background will be there. For example, school will be pronounced as school. Multilingualism, one community using multiple languages. For example, in Hyderabad, the people will be speaking Urdu, Hindi, Telugu and English. Multilingualism. Lingua franca, but however, every community will be having their own dominant language, that is called as lingua franca. Pidgin and Creole, one language will be developed for a purpose, like for trade, that language is called as Pidgin, but sometimes the Pidgin will get a full-fledged language status. That particular Pidgin will become what? Creole. Pidgin and Creole. These are called a social context of language use. How language will be developed in different social contexts is 7 varieties. How many varieties? 7. Number 1, idiolect or dialect, social classes, age and sex, ethnic background, multilingualism, lingua franca, and finally Pidgin and Creole. There are some studies also. Biological evolution of language. I discussed about cultural evolution of language by using Noam Chomsky's theory. By taking Noam Chomsky's theory, I had explained about cultural evolution of language. Next is biological evolution of language. There are 5 theories. I will tell slowly, try to understand it. Number 1, all evolution, not number 1, this is introduction. All evolutionary development, human acquired sophisticated brain with biological and neurological capacity offer creative language. There are following different theories mainly with respect to how the biological evolution of language happened. First theory was been given, first hypothesis was been given by Holloway and Kulik. Is been given by Holloway and Kulik. Remember only one word. Holloway and Kulik came to conclusion by endocasts. He studied, this one is called as, this particular endocast. By studying this endocast, by comparing the endocast, he came to a conclusion how language developed. How? The review data on fossil hominin endocast and conclude that language development was underway for Homo erectus and mostly completed by Homo heidelbergensis. You know this. Australopithecine, evolved into Homo erectus. So Homo erectus have three varieties: Europe, Africa, Asia. Pekinensis and tell me Javanicus. Neanderthal, yes or no? It is further divided into classical Homo neanderthal and Homo neanderthal. Further evolved into, this is the original paleontology diagram, phylogenetic status as per Skupin. So he compared the endocaste of Homo erectus, then he thought that the Homo erectus endocaste is similar to modern man and little bit, then complete endocaste is similar to modern man at Homo heidelbergensis, European varieties. Hence he told that the language started in Homo erectus variety in the beginning and completely developed by the stage he reached Homo heidelbergensis. This particular theory is called as Holloway and Kulig. Next, difference between ape and modern man. Hyoid bone, he took the, he means this is second. Another clue, larynx and hyoid bone. For apes, the hyoid bone, this particular bone is not inserted inside. Whereas for human beings, this bone is inserted inside. So because of this hyoid bone which is inserted further, we are having voice, we are having vocal box, which is absent in apes. Another clue that both of them have larynx descends in throat, but in human hyoid, bone descended further, thus forming our unique vocal anatomy. And third, base of cranium. Again, he compared base of cranium. The thinkers or the physical anthropologists, they compared. Base of cranium is straight, and human beings, the base of this one, after occipital torus, after occipital bun, beneath the occipital bun, a thick flexed type of shape is there. So base of the cranium is straight for ape and the base of the cranium is flexed for human beings. So this base of the cranium might be responsible for a formation of language. Flexed reflecting changing position of larynx. Fourth, Neanderthal could speak language like modern man. What happened? Here two people, Lieberman and Krillin. Lieberman and Krillin, what they told? They conclude that they were incapable of vocalizing certain vocal sounds, ultimately resolved with discovery of first Neanderthal hyoid bone. What is this? How our hyoid bone is there? He compared with Australopithecines hyoid bone, compared with Homo erectus hyoid bone, compared with Neanderthal hyoid bone. From this he came to a conclusion that the hyoid bone of Neanderthal is similar to modern man. So Neanderthal was also speaking. So the evolution, biological evolution of language started from Neanderthal by comparing the position of hyoid bone. Vocal ability between Neanderthal and modern man, hence believed that verbal communication started from Neanderthal. However, there is an ancient DNA analysis which was been done and which was been concluded by University of California also. What is that? FOXP2 gene. The FOXP2 gene is present among all the hominoid. You know, there is one diagram. Primates. Primates are divided into old world monkeys and new world monkeys. Old world monkeys are further divided into cercopithecus and hominoid. Hominoid is divided into lesser apes, greater apes, and hominid. Hominid. Now you see. Lesser apes, gibbon, baboon, langur. Greater apes, chimpanzee, gorilla, orangutan. Modern man is hominid. So from this we are coming to conclusion that man did not evolve from chimpanzee, man did not evolve from orangutan, but however the ancestor of orangutan, the ancestor of greater apes, the ancestor of lesser apes and the ancestor of modern man is same. So I compared here, this complete hominoid family is having the gene called as FOXP2 gene. Again here hominid means Australopithecines, Homo erectus, Neanderthal and Homo sapiens. The line will go on. So he compared all the genes. All the All the hominoid species are having FOXP2 gene, but there are two mutations, two amino acid sequence is unique to Neanderthal and modern man. Oh, this FOXP2 gene, two mutations might be responsible for evolution of language biologically. The same FOXP2 genes, two mutations are also present with Neanderthal. This is about biological language evolution. Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, I already told. So, who determined the one, whereas in modern language have different versions. For example, if I take Indian Railways, if I tell 1800, so directly it triggers a thought in you, that is 6 p.m. If I tell 2100, directly it will trigger you, it is 9 p.m. So, single thought will be there, that is called a stronger version. In our only Indian Railways, we can come to a conclusion. This is about biological evolution of language, cultural evolution of language, and Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, nature of language, origin of language, characteristics of language, and social context of language use. Hence, this all comes under a single concept called as linguistic anthropology. In linguistic anthropology question, the summary is the language influences the culture and the culture influences language, language and culture homologous, analogous and same. Very quickly, you should also, those who are writing mains, then time also will be saved. Fatafat you have to release. Gotto chronology is a PYQ. Gotto chronology, evolution of language. It is nothing but evolution of language. You have to write cultural evolution of language as well as you have to write the biological evolution of language. Next is fieldwork traditions in anthropology. The first topic is fieldwork traditions in anthropology. So we have to talk about fieldwork. The fieldwork definition is given in notes and queries. The first definition of fieldworks is given by notes and queries, in which the notes and queries is like how IEEE to the engineering students. Similarly, the notes and queries is a standard definition book for anthropology, optional students, for anthropology students. Fieldwork theories are defined by notes and queries. In anthropology, it is the first-hand information of people through the techniques of personal interaction, observation, interviews, and that include prolonged stay among the local people who are being studied. So generally there are two different varieties of doing the fieldwork. One is called as participant model, other is called as non-participant model. Coming to the genesis, first-hand information, first-hand observation is required, recording or documenting, data generated mainly through fieldwork, and ability to see and visualize the things. He goes to the field in participant, he goes to the field and studies it. In non-participant observation, he will go to the field but he will not participate among the people. In this way, there is a fieldwork tradition which has been evolved, number one. So tell me, who started fieldwork? Henry Morgan is the first person who went to Iroquois Indian and attempted to do the fieldwork, but he did non-participant observation, and the fieldwork also he did not do fully. He behaved like elite, but however, he is the first person who attempted to do the fieldwork. And the next personality who gave emphasis on doing fieldwork and studying the local people is called as Franz Boas. He studied Baffin Islands and he also advocated that every anthropologist should do fieldwork. Then after him it is the W.H.R. Rivers who had emphasized mainly on doing fieldworks. He visited Toda tribal community of India and also conducted fieldwork among them. But however, it is a non-participant model of doing fieldwork. While doing is, he devised what? W.H.R. Rivers devised what? क्या innovate किया था? Genealogy, very good. The genealogical methods were being innovated by W.H.R. Rivers. Similarly, questionnaire methods were being innovated by whom? Morgan, Henry Morgan. This should be there, Henry Morgan. And he also studied about kinship terminologies. This point should be there. And the next big personality is Malnovisky, who did participant observation, who not only advocated participant observation in studying the ethnographies, he himself stayed 3 years in Mailu Islands and Trobriand and Polynesia Island, and he is the father of fieldwork traditions in anthropology. His main emphasis on staying long term and learning the local language and doing the studies of the tribal people. Hence, he is called as a participant observant of the discipline of anthropology. The next big man is R.C. Brown, who visited India and studied Andaman Islanders. And these three people, mainly W.H.R. Rivers, Malnovisky and R.C. Browns, are part of Torres Strait expedition, which is responsible for revolutionizing the discipline of anthropology. Then next is structuralist only Edmund Leach. Edmund Leach is a person who studied Kachin and Shan population, and he emphasized that the conflict itself is a structure. And the next personality is culture personality school. Ruth Benedict is a person who told that personality influences culture and studied Pima, Pueblozooni, Dobu and Cocktail, whereas Margaret Mead had studied Arapesh, Mundugumar, Shamboli, Samoan Islands and Japanese, and he told that culture influences personality. But she is famous for restudy method as well as visual anthropology, that you have to add. Then the next is Abram Gardiner, who studied about Marquesans of Polynesian Island. And the next person is Cora Du Bois, who studied about Aluri's population. Then culture materialist Marvin Harris, in order to prove that material influences culture, he came to India and he studied about why the cows are superstructures. Why the cows are superstructures, and he did the field work, and he also compared between why the cows are sacred in Hindu community and why the pigs are non-sacred or they hate in Muslim community, was been studied by Marvin Harris. And the next is neo-evolutionism, no field work. And the next is symbolic. In that symbolic, who did field work? Victor Turner. Studied which society? Dembu society, from which he told that symbols are responsible for social progress. Then cognitive anthropologist Taylor and Conklin studied about Koya and Muslims and American society and concluded that the cultures are present in the mental construct. What is present in the minds of the people and which is shared among the people is culture. Finally, the postmodernists came to conclusion and they gave a revolutionary revelations with respect to doing ethnography. They told all the ethnographies are subjective in nature. We want the ethnographies which should be in this way. We have to write about ethnographies. फटाफट आपको लिखना पड़ेगा, कहाँ किया है, क्या इनोवेट किया है, उसमें क्या मिला है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगेन रूथ बेनेडिक्ट स्पेशल जीनस, मार्गरेट मीड स्पेस पर्सनालिटी, अब्रम गार्डनर बेसिक पर्सनालिटी, Cora Du Bois model personality, and she also told that there are subcultures because of which the model personality will be changed, because of which she became popular. Field work traditions in anthropology. And next, simple topic that is called as difference between technique, method, methodology. So for everything there is a need for research. Research is for knowledge, research is for data, research is to analyze. In that research we advocate research technique. Research technique is nothing but behavior or skill. Research method, there are several methods are available. Which method we are adopting, which is suitable and convenient to us, is called as method. Methodology, what is the reasoning behind choosing a method, is called as methodology. 8b. Research basically means search for knowledge, search for scientific and systematic search for ingenious information or data. Technique, behavior, skill. Methods, model which we adopt in collecting the data. Research methodology, with example you can tell. Technique, what is a technique? Participation is the technique. In which method? Observation method, yes or no? In observation we have two methods. One is called participant observation, other is called as non-participant. Technique I adopted is participant. Method I choose is observation. And the reasoning behind choosing observation is methodology. Difference between technique, method and methodology. Next big thing is, compulsory one question will be there. Tools of data collection. So in the process of collection of data, every anthropologist requires tools. And the tools will give us the information with respect to data collection. So there are 10 tools which are present in the syllabus. Number 1, observation, interview, schedule, questionnaire, life history, oral history, genealogical methods, case study, secondary source of information and participatory appraisal. In this, first one is observation. We are observing and we are collecting the data. How the people are behaving, what is making them to behave in such way. Observations. So observations are 4 varieties. One is called as controlled observation, second is called as uncontrolled observation, third is called as participant observation, fourth is called as non-participant observation. Controlled observation bole to CC camera. So when the observant know that he is under observation, then his behavior will be controlled. Uncontrolled observation, he doesn't know and we are also not controlling or we are also not checking him. It is called as uncontrolled observation. So in controlled observation, the data which is coming will not be authentic and the data which is coming up in uncontrolled observation will be authentic and real. Participant observation, the anthropologist will come and participate with them and live among them, like one among them, and learn the local language and will have a long stay with them. It is called as participant observation. Non-participant observation means he will not participate among the people. He will stay outside. He will be behaving like elite and he will be conducting the field work. Is called as non-participant observation. People generally will get doubt what is the difference between the controlled observation and non-participant observation. Controlled observation, person will completely absent. But in non-participant observation, the observer will be present, but he will not involve. That is the difference between controlled observation and non-participant observation. And the second is called as interviews. Interviews are directive interview, non-directive interview, focused interview, repeated interview. Directive interview bole to like engineering services, specialist exams, interview questions will be very, very specific to the point, like ISRO. Whereas non-directive like UPSC exam, questions under the sky will be subject to question, that is called as non-directive interview, focused interview. Like every time police interrogation, they will ask all the questions and again they will come to conclusion that why you were present on the crime scene. Focused interview, repeatedly they will be asking the same question so that they want the answer. Mother promise, I will not tell to anyone, please tell me. That is called as repeated interview. Based upon the number of people also interview will be done. If one person interview or a group interview, based upon the time duration also number of interviews are there, like short time interview or a long time interview. And next is schedule and questionnaire. What is the difference between the schedule and questionnaire? Questionnaire is advocated by whom? Henry Morgan. Henry Morgan gave the questionnaire to the people and told the people to answer the question. Here they will be self-administered. They themselves will be answering to the questions. It's called as questionnaire. The questionnaire can be structured questionnaire, unstructured questionnaire or pictorial questionnaire. Whereas schedule, questionnaire will be given, but the anthropologist will be sitting with the observer. Observer will be sitting with the observant and asking the questions directly, and answers will be noted down by the anthropologist. That is schedule. That is the difference between the schedule and questionnaire. Life history. Life history itself is a story like Beresamunda. The life history itself gives us the data of the society. Oral history, folklores, gives the data of the information. Yes or no? Genealogical diagram, the family tree diagram will give a proper data. The sensitive questions which they cannot answer properly, they can answer through pictorial diagrams, which is possible by genealogical methods, which is devised by Rivers. And he copied from genetical studies pedigree analysis diagram. The pedigree analysis diagram, if it is applied to socio-cultural setup, it is called as genealogical methods. Then case study. Case study method, it's a scientific observation and scientifically studying a event or a person or a group or a community, or else we are present at the time the event is happening. That is called as case study. The case study is like an evidence for the field data. Case study is more authentic. Why? Because it gives the real information without any bias or without any prejudices. Why? Because we are using scientific approach or we ourselves are present. Like example, Kularing of Malnovisky, he himself is present. Hence, he gave it as a case study. Secondary source of information like published data and unpublished data. Published data like newspapers. Unpublished data like the letters of Nehru written to Indira Gandhi is out in the form of discovery of India. Participatory appraisals. Two methods are there with respect to participatory appraisals. Two approaches are there. One is called as PRA, other is called as RRA. These people will be a lot confused. I will tell you properly. So mainly participatory rural appraisal is a term which is used to collect the data either from the tribal communities or rural communities. So participatory rural appraisal, people themselves will sit, people themselves will discuss, interpret, analysis and come to a conclusion, draw a conclusion, and that conclusion will be drawn and given to the higher echelons. It is called as participatory rural appraisal. Grama Sabha themselves will be sitting, they themselves will be coming to a conclusion, and that conclusion will be submitted to the district collector. That is called as participatory rural appraisal. There is no role of anthropologist, there is no role of observer. So they themselves will sit, they themselves will analyze, they themselves will come to a conclusion. That particular format is called as PRA, participatory rural appraisal. People will have a cross-checking, people will have triangulation, people will be approximation they will be doing, and they will be coming to a conclusion with respect to the data. And the data is authentic. Why? Because unbiased. People all together come to a conclusion, and that conclusion will be given. Hence, it is more authentic form of data when compared to any other model of data collection. Why? Because it is the data of the people. It is the data of the community. It is the data of the society. It is also called as, another concept is there which is called as participatory learning action. Same concept, another term, don't get confused. Once they asked PLA means PRA, both are the same. It is there in the PDF which I provided, participatory learning action. The action which is come because of people, they learn together and they make a decision, they make a data. Based upon the data, the people will be coming up with an action like a social audit. The next is RRA, Rapid Rural Appraisal, whereby an outsider will come, outsider will move, outsider will collect the data, the people will share the data, and the sampling and the conclusion will be made by the outsider is called as Rapid Rural Appraisal. This outsider will give the data to the higher echelons. Rapid Rural Appraisal. There is another method which is called as phenomenological methods. The recent one, simple. Anthropologist will follow a phenomenon. From that phenomenon, he will draw the data, and that data he will be using for understanding the society. It is called as phenomenological method. Nowadays, we are using artificial intelligence. Nowadays, we are using information communication technology in drawing the informations. So, information communication technology is also leveraged to collect the data. Hence, these are called as tools of data collection.